Oh, very good.
That's a trick question, Prabhu.
Right. Yes. Yes, being kind is not such a easy task. So, we have Machi, what's your name again? Himani. So Himani is going to be my helper because she's got beautiful handwriting. So she's going to write on the board situations in which kindness needs to be exhibited. Okay? Now when I tell you. So we'll see a few pastimes of Prabhupada and how Prabhupada was kind in those different situations. The first one is in 1971, July 29, 1971. And this was related by Gadi Prabhu. Prabhupada went to the, you don't have to read, you can just listen. And this is just for reference. So Srila Prabhupada was being interviewed by a student radio host. And the student radio of the University of Florida. The student, he asked Prabhupada, so sir, why are you here? Who's invited you here? And another time he asked, what is your contribution to this world? And Srila Prabhupada said, my contribution, or our contribution, is that I am bringing the authorized version of the scriptures to the West. So this student host, he said, authorized version? Authorized by whom? You can see how he's being extremely antagonistic, arrogant. And Srila Prabhupada, every time he was asked the question, Prabhupada would pause as if breathing calmly, and then he would reply. He said, authorized by whom? And Srila Prabhupada again paused, and he said, authorized by Lord Chaitanya. So I'm bringing the scriptures which are authorized by Lord Chaitanya. And then of course, the student was not satisfied that he couldn't put the Swami down, so he asked Prabhupada, and what would you say is a person perfect in Krishna consciousness? How would you define that person? And Srila Prabhupada very calmly he said, he would be a perfect gentleman. And the calm and kindness with which Prabhupada replied, he would be a perfect gentleman, actually demonstrated Prabhupada as a gentleman. And the whole student community, they started clapping. So we saw in this particular instance how Prabhupada dealt with a supposedly antagonistic person. You see, it's usually easy to be kind to someone who is kind to you. Not so difficult, generally speaking. So point number one, kind to
Everyone.
kind to kind in what situation? Kind to
Antagonistic situation.
yeah, antagonistic situation. Kind in antagonistic situation. And in fact, the children were so impressed by Swamiji that they also asked, what is the best welfare activity that we can perform practically on the university grounds? Do you know what Prabhupada said? What's the practical? Prabhupada said? Well, chanting, okay.
Prasada?
Yes. Prabhupada said, distribute Krishna Prasadam. Prabhupada would never say Prasadam. Generally, he would say Krishna Prasadam. Prabhupada said, distribute Krishna Prasadam. So the student community started what is called as Krishna Lunch. Has anyone been to University of Florida? Yes. So you must have seen this. This is a plaque that's there. The placard is there in the university campus. It reads, on July 29th, 1971, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, founder of the Hare Krishna movement, addressed students here and inspired them to start Krishna Lunch. It's still there, going on, Krishna Lunch. And in fact, now the university has officially named the road as Krishna Lunch Lane. had such a huge impact. And hundreds and thousands of students, doesn't matter whether they are Christians, Muslims, non-believers, believers, nothing. Everyone queues up and they enjoy Krishna lunch in University of Florida. Still, the program is still going on. So, kindness has far-reaching consequences. So now, my question to all of us, how do we practice kindness in a difficult situation? How would we practice kindness? What do we learn from Prabhupada's pastime?
Be calm. To be calm and
To be calm. How can you be calm? It's so difficult to be calm, isn't it?
Pause.
I want some technique or tips, yes.
To override people's thinking, perspective of how they are thinking, to override it and to give them kindness out of that.
Excellent. How would you override it? Suppose, I'll give you a practical example.
Don't be rude to me.
Don't be rude to me. You can tell them not to be
You
rude.
be rude to me,
Yeah.
and then I'll show you. And then I'll say, Prabhuji, sorry, but I'm hungry.
Yeah, so you're saying you take a humble position.
Yeah, and it's the voice, the tone.
The tone. Very good. But there's one thing that when I meditated on this pastime, there's one thing that came across. And that was how Prabhupada took time to respond rather than react. Respond rather than react. What most of us do in any situation, even between husband and wife, between two devotees in the temple, between your temple authorities, yourself, when you interact, we quickly make some conception about the other person. This person is like this. And secondly, whenever we confront the person, we are quick to react. So, very practical tip for practicing kindness. What is the tip?
Breathe deeply.
Breathe deeply, pause, don't react. Pause, and then when you speak, you be benevolent. I put French below because there are some devotees, and when you write in English in short sentences, it may not make sense. But the important is to not react. Breathe, pause, take it in. Take it in.
I'll take a step back before you move forward.
Step back before you move forward. And this is very practical. This is how Prabhupada practically acted. We'll look at another instance of kindness of Prabhupada. And this was at Bhaktivedanta Manor. And I would just like to mention that Gopaswami Prabhu has just come. Thank you, Prabhu, for coming. And Mataji, Mataji is also Prabhupada disciple? No, I thought you were Prabhupada disciple. So Gopaswami Prabhu has been around for many, many years. And he served Srila Prabhupada in this place near Mayapur. He's one of the original French devotees here. And he has many, many wonderful pastimes and stories of Prabhupada. So we'll hopefully hear from Gopaswami Prabhu as well. Yes, Haribol. Thank you. So we go to this another pastime of how Prabhupada is kind. You see, sometimes we are kind, but we are kind only to a certain demographic. For example, if we are a senior devotee, or we are a well-known person, or we are somebody, then we will be only kind to certain people who are of our caliber, who are of the same level. Or we'll be kind to people who we think are important. Because if we can be kind to the important person, our importance increases. There is selfishness there. Even in our kindness, there is selfishness. Yes?
Without ego. Without ego, you have to be kindness for everyone.
Correct. So, Srila Prabhupada demonstrated, when he was in Bhaktivedanta Manor, they once had, in 1973, they had a meeting of inter-religious groups. So people from the Muslim, the Sikh community, the Christian community, various people had come. And you have all been to Prabhupada's room in Bhaktivedanta Manor? That room was full of devotees and these external people. So there were devotees and there were all these other people. At that time, one 5-year-old boy who was dressed like a sannyasi and with a small danda in his hand. He was just playing, but he had dressed up like a sannyasi with nice tilak. He's stepson of Kishore Prabhu, so who told this pastime. So he entered that room suddenly. Prabhupada was very grave. He was speaking very important topic to all these not world but religious leaders. And all the devotees were listening very gravely. And at that time, he just, like Mataji opened the door, he opened the door and from behind the door came this little boy with a danda and dressed up as sannyasi. Immediately Prabhupada looked at the door, he saw this boy and he said, come in. Maharaj, what is your name? The boy's name was Premananda. So he said, Premananda, come Maharaj, please sit here next to us. And the whole room lighted up. And then he offered him one cookie. So this is in between this meeting going on. Yeah? And he ate the cookie and left. So we see, generally speaking, there are some who are deeply philosophical, and then there are some who are deeply practical, but may not be so philosophical. Those who are philosophical appear to be very dry. Those who are practical may appear to be too emotional. In Sanskrit, these two words are tattva and rasa. Rasa operates on the platform of emotions. Tattva operates on the platform of thinking and the mind and the heart. And sometimes these are two separate, most of the times rather. But in Srila Prabhupada this morning, I spoke to Swami Prabhu, and he was saying, in case of Prabhupada, even when he spoke tattva, you are not this body. There was rasa even in that. And even when he was speaking tattva, he did not forego of the sweet kindness, the sweet emotion, the sweet rasa. This is a great example of that. Full room and a little boy walks in and Prabhupada is kind to him. So second point, expressing kindness towards everyone. First was to express, anyone remembers? Express kindness in a difficult situation, antagonistic situation. How can that be done? Technique or thinking? Yeah, you pause, like Prabhupada. See, what I'm trying to do here is to extract what we can learn from a Prabhupada. In this situation, what we learn from Prabhupada is you can be kind even to someone who is much younger, yes. Is there a question, Jasmine? No. Okay. So this was Prabhupada extending kindness to even a little boy. How do we do that? how do we become kind to someone who is not really directly related to us, or somebody who is too junior, too young? There was a little boy, one little boy is there. His name is Kana. He's come along with his parents. I don't see his parents here, but that boy is maybe a few months old, and he's looking at me. So what am I going to say to him? Hare Krishna? All sounds are the same to him. How do I interact?
Smile.
What did Prabhupada do? Smile at Premananda. Smile and show sincere sympathy. Sincere. This is kindness. This is what we learn from Prabhupada. What's her name? Can you read the French, please, loudly?
Souris, montre sincèrement de la sympathie.
Wow.
Thank you. Janmati, thank you. I hope it makes sense. Yeah? So, the most important thing is suri, which means to smile. One thing that breaks barriers is smile. In the most difficult situation, if you can smile, is the first step. Usually what happens, we become stern. And that is a sign on the face we become disturbed. Yeah? Imagine we are now here and some 2-3 boys just walk in and they start playing. We'll be disturbed. Prabhupada demonstrated kindness. Smile and show sincere sympathy. Another act of kindness. This is by Kaishori Devi in Vrindavan. Prabhupada, you see, in Vrindavan that time, Vrindavan was not fully developed. This is Prabhupada in Vrindavan. And he was staying in a building which wasn't fully renovated. And it wasn't complete yet. So there was a door with a latch, which was a temporary latch. And the door would not shut properly. So whoever went to Prabhupada's room, they were told by Harishwari Prabhu, make sure you shut the door and shut it tight. Because if you don't shut it, the mosquitoes will enter inside. And Prabhupada would not like mosquitoes, bothering him. So, and of course Prabhupada wouldn't allow mosquitoes to be killed either. So it was a very tricky situation. Actually, I'll tell you another mosquito pastime. Just remind me after this one. Very nice. Prabhupada pastime on mosquitoes from Venezuela. So, Kaishori Devi, she was serving Srila Prabhupada. She's actually French, if I'm not wrong. Is that right, Gopaswami? Yeah. Because when I heard this from her, she sounded like a French person. So, yeah, she's French. So, Kaishori Devi shut the door. And she shut the door, but because it wouldn't shut properly, the door kind of just swung open a little bit. And then Harishwari Prabhu saw Kaishori Mataji come out, and he saw that the door is still open, and he was ballistic. He said, you don't understand. You have no brains. Why did you leave the door open? I told you not to leave the door open. He was really like shouting. And at that time, Kaishori Mataji was, no, but I did shut it, I shut it. She's French, so she's trying to explain in English. And Harishwari Prabhu wasn't listening. He said, no, it's not shut, you did not shut. And she was really, not feeling, like almost in tears. At that time, suddenly somebody touched her from behind, as if moving her aside. And she looked, it was Srila Prabhupada. And Srila Prabhupada directly spoke to Harishwari Prabhu. And he said, why are you speaking to her like this? You shouldn't speak to her like this. What is the problem? It's okay if the door is open. You shouldn't speak to her like... He completely came in defense of Krishna. So we see that kindness means one is not superficial, but one wants to protect. Kindness doesn't mean just superficial. Yes, you have a big smile. Prabhupada said that kind of a kindness is a Mayavadi kindness. Impersonalist. We are not impersonalist. So, Prabhupada was respectful to his female disciple, and after showing respect, he assessed the situation, recognized what was required, and then he responded. So, kindness of response. So, next point is kindness, not just generally kindness, but kindness in responding. How do you exhibit kindness in responding? Anyone? What's the best way to respond kindly? Has anyone been in a situation where you have been in a very tricky situation and you don't know how to respond? And so you end up responding in a way which you later on feel, oh, I shouldn't have responded that way. Has anyone been in that situation?
Yeah.
I have been many times. So how do you respond kindly? There are 3 steps.
Calmness.
Calmness is there, yes. Analyze, somebody said, excellent. You have to, before you, yes, go on.
To understand where they're coming from.
To understand where they're coming from, to understand the situation. Not just act in a certain way. So, how do you practice kindness of response? Respectfully recognize and respond. To recognize first. What is it that is going on here? And sometimes we or somebody else might be reacting in a disproportionate manner. Prabhupada never liked it. Whenever somebody was disproportionate in their behavior, extreme. In fact, Srila Prabhupada, there was one disciple of Prabhupada in the manner. He just felt like Prabhupada is, he's such a incredible personality who's somehow blessed us on earth. He felt so much humility that every time Prabhupada would enter the room, he would fall full Dandavat. And he would stand there with folded hands. When Prabhupada would leave the room, the temple hall, he would pay Dandavats, stand there with folded hands. Whenever he would see Prabhupada climbing the stairs, he would stand there, do Dandavat, stand there. Whenever he would climb up the stairs, same thing. He would do this for 2-3 days. On the 4th day, Prabhupada was coming out of the room. And again, he bowed down, folded hands, he was standing. And Srila Prabhupada looked at him and said, "What are you doing here? Why don't you do something useful?" So Prabhupada was not into this kind of a very butterfly feeling, He was into practical service. Why don't you do something useful? And this is important, that our kindness should be in action, in response. So, respectfully recognize. Mother, you'd like to?
Reconnaître et répondre respectueusement.
I cannot imitate her. That will be in another life. So, yes. I was going to tell you a story about mosquitoes. Yes?
Yes, I have a question
Yeah.
like that. What would be going on the devotees who was doing like Dandavat Pranam all the time? I'm just thinking about recognizing the situation like that. I'm just trying to think of his point of view, the devotee's point
He
of
was
view.
in awe and reverence. I actually spoke to him.
Oh,
He
yeah.
still comes to the manor.
Oh.
And he does wonderful services now.
Yeah.
He's Prabhupada disciple. And he said, wow, my ego was completely smashed by Prabhupada. Because I was thinking, all my godbrothers who are doing all these service, they are missing out on Prabhupada's presence. So I would not do services. I would just be where Prabhupada is and I would just pay him obeisances. And Prabhupada told me, why don't you do something useful? I realized, actually, to please Prabhupada is not to just be in front of him with folded hands. That's not pleasing to Prabhupada. When you follow his instructions, that is what pleases Srila Prabhupada. Right? So, next, I was going to tell you about mosquitoes. Prabhupada was in, I believe he was in Venezuela. And it was very humid, tropical. So the devotees had arranged for Srila Prabhupada to give a class out in the open. There was a little temple, and Prabhupada was in the open. Anyone's been to Venezuela? No? In Venezuela, near the rainforest, Brazil and Venezuela, there are big mosquitoes. I haven't been to Venezuela, but from the devotee who was explaining it, these mosquitoes are literally the size of a 10p coin. You know, that big mosquitoes. Real big mosquitoes. And the devotees were sitting and the sun was setting. So you know when the sun sets, the mosquitoes in swarms, they come out. And Srila Prabhupada was sitting and he was speaking. And he was speaking to everyone with, his finger like that. He was speaking. And all the devotees were sitting. And Prabhupada used to speak sometimes with his eyes closed. And then he opened his eyes and he saw everyone is dancing. So Prabhupada was wondering what's going on. Everyone is fidgeting, dancing. He said, either they sleep or they dance. That's how they do. So Prabhupada said, why they are dancing? Prabhupada asked one disciple, why they are dancing? So he said, Prabhupada, too many mosquitoes. And Prabhupada said, what is that? And he said, Prabhupada, there are too many mosquitoes biting everyone. So they are trying to avoid the mosquitoes biting them. Srila Prabhupada said, oh. And then the disciples said, Prabhupada, the mosquitoes are only biting us in the audience. But we notice that not a single mosquito is approaching your transcendental body. This is so mystical, Prabhupada. And Prabhupada said, oh, that may be so here. But in Vrindavan, they make no distinction. So we can see how Prabhupada was very quick to not take any respect. Prabhupada would not take any undue respect or acknowledgement from anyone. Anyway, there was another mosquito pastime. There is another mosquito pastime for another time. I want to move on into these 26 qualities. So, quality of kindness. What was the topic here? To be? Huh? To be, yeah. What was the third point you wrote?
Third point, kindness and responding.
Yes. How do you respond in kindness? Not just being kind in a non-interactive situation. It's easy to be kind in a situation in which you're not interacting. Like I am going to the temple and Maya Prabhu is just standing there and I'm passing by and I say, Hare Krishna Prabhu, how are you? With a nice smile. And he smiles back. But imagine he needs to tell me off or I need to tell him off. In an interaction, to be kind is very difficult. In a non-interactive situation, it's easy to be kind. So here we can see when Prabhupada interacted, he was respectful and he was respectfully recognizing the situation before he was responding and not reacting. Another time in London, in Tittenhurst Park. Now, generally we are kind to people we know, isn't it? Generally speaking. It's easy to be kind to, I'm familiar with all of you, so I'll be kind. I know you all are devotees, so I'll be kind. What about being kind to someone who is unknown to us? So, this is, do you know who this is? Not George Harrison, no. John Lennon, yes. This is John Lennon and this is Tittenhurst Park. He had in Titmus Park, he had an estate, John Lennon's estate. And John Lennon was renovating it. The building was as big as this castle. And he was renovating, there was a bricklayer who was renovating one section of the building. The bricklayer, of course the devotees were invited to stay over. And Srila Prabhupada was also there personally. And this particular bricklayer, he spoke to the devotees and he said, oh, on the top floor where I am staying, I cannot finish the work here. Because every night I hear steps. And then I hear people crying out loud and howling. Especially in the middle of the night, there are different kinds of sounds that come up. And as if somebody is being butchered and they are crying in pain. And sometimes I hear things suddenly falling. And when Srila Prabhupada was told this by the devotees, Srila Prabhupada said they had a full day's engagement here, full day. But Srila Prabhupada was so kind to a person who, in one sense, he had no reason to interact with. He was a bricklayer, he was a contractor of John Lennon. He has nothing to do with Prabhupada. Prabhupada could have just heard him and said, chant Hare Krishna, and that's it. But instead, he engaged the devotees to perform an 8-hour kirtan in the loft where this bricklayer was staying. And all the devotees went there, performed the kirtan, and the next day, the bricklayer came to Prabhupada and he said, thank you. I don't know how you have, there's this exorcism, getting rid of ghosts. And Prabhupada said, if you chant Hare Krishna, you can get rid of ghosts. So this bricklayer came to Prabhupada and he acknowledged Prabhupada's kindness. He said, thank you, sir. I don't know what you did, but I don't hear any sounds anymore. I had the most peaceful sleep at night. And I'll be able to finish my work. So this is how Prabhupada does not just address kindness in a spiritual way, but comprehensively, materially and spiritually. Sometimes we are kind, but for example, once Srila Prabhupada was challenged by some kind of a sadhu who was seeing Prabhupada. He said, Swamiji, you are always talking about the soul, but this Daridra Narayan means poor stricken Narayan. Because the Mayavadis, they think everyone is Narayan. When two Mayavadi sannyasis meet, what do? They pay obeisances to each other. And what do they say? They don't say, obeisances Keshav Maharaj. The other one doesn't say, obeisances Janananda Maharaj. No, that is not how they do. They pay obeisances, they say, Om Namo Narayanaya. I pay obeisances to Narayan. The other one also says, Om Namo Narayana. I pay obeisances to Narayan. Because they think everyone is Narayan. Prabhupada was against this. Daridra Narayan means Narayan has become poor. How is that possible? Lakshmipati, Narayan is husband of Lakshmi. How can he be poor? So Prabhupada was against this, but this man was saying, so many Daridra Narayans are in the street, they are hungry, and you are just preaching about the soul. What is the use of your preaching? He was challenging Prabhupada. And Prabhupada said, no. We are not only preaching about the soul, we are also feeding them Mahaprasad. So Prabhupada believed and taught us to not only treat others with kindness spiritually, but even kindness materially. If somebody is in pain, we should give them medicine first. We should not say, chant Hare Krishna. I have a fracture. No problem. Chant Hare Krishna, a fracture will heal. I have suffered from heart attack, diabetes, high blood pressure. Prabhupada actually told one of his disciples directly, are you taking your medicines? His disciple said, no Prabhupada, I am chanting Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada said, yes, that is very nice, but it will work better with medicines. So, your chanting Hare Krishna will work better with medicines. So, Prabhupada was very keen that his disciples, his devotees, and for that matter, anyone in general, was not unnecessarily suffering with their body, minds, or soul. So, how do we practice kindness? Kindness practice has to be material or spiritual? Both. So, we have to care comprehensively. Yeah? This is the technique of caring. When we are caring for someone, we care comprehensively. When our Shruti Dharma Prabhu was unwell, how many of you know Shruti Dharma Prabhu? Yeah, many of you know Shruti Dharma Prabhu. Very good. How many of you have met Shruti Dharma Prabhu? Yeah, nice. So Shruti Dharma Prabhu at the manor, he was suffering from cancer, and in his final days, many devotees would go and see him. And most devotees would sit next to him and ask him questions. How are you feeling? Are you better? Just to encourage him, they would say, oh, you are very nice. You are looking very nice. But Shruti Prabhu would be very kind to everyone, of course. But I used to go and massage him. And Shruti Prabhu was very, very happy. He would say, I'm looking forward every day for you to come, because you are treating my body and my soul. Because while massaging, he would tell me, please discuss something from Srimad Bhagavatam. And he would tell me a verse number. I would take the verse and I would almost give a Bhagavatam class to him while he is being massaged. And then at the end of the class, he would do Q&A. It was very nice. And he said, you are treating me physically and spiritually. Of course, I wasn't treating him. He was the one who was treating me by allowing me to engage in his service. But it was a wonderful exchange. And what I realized is from that point on, that we should not deal with devotees in a superficial manner by just advising them spiritually. Like this bricklayer, Prabhupada helped him get rid of ghosts. Yeah, very material in one sense. And then Prabhupada, when he came, Prabhupada said, now that there are no ghosts, chant Hare Krishna and lay your bricks. Yeah? So yes, he gave spiritual, but I think this is the last one for kindness. It's from Madhudvisha Prabhu. Now, the next point is being kind with those who have disagreed. Kind to those who have turned against us or who have disagreed. So Madhudvisha Prabhu, he had accepted sannyas from Prabhupada. I believe in 1973, 72 or 73, he was awarded sannyas. After taking sannyas, he traveled with Prabhupada many places, and then he left Prabhupada's association. And in 1976 in Vrindavan, he suddenly appeared. Now he was no longer a sannyasi. He already had a child, he was married, he had given up his sannyas. And all the God brothers and God sisters of Madhudvisha Prabhu, they were thinking, why did he do that? Why did he give up sannyas? Prabhupada is going to be so upset with him. So Madhudvisha Prabhu, when he approached Prabhupada, he paid his obeisances in front of Prabhupada. Actually, Tamal Krishna Maharaj told Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Madhudvisha is here. And Prabhupada immediately said, oh, Madhudvisha, call him. After 3 years, Prabhupada let him in and he paid obeisances to Prabhupada, and Madhudvisha Prabhu had a long shikha still. He had practically left the association of devotees as well. He was partly associating, not associating, and he was a grihastha now. He was in white, no longer a sannyasi with a danda and saffron. And Prabhupada, looking at his shikha, Prabhupada said, "Oh, just see Madhudvisha, you have a beautiful shikha." So just see, Prabhupada could have scolded him. He could have bombarded him. Why did you do that? And the next question Prabhupada asked, "You've come alone? Where is your wife?" And all the sannyasi disciples, Tamal Krishna Maharaj and others, they were wondering, how can Prabhupada be so accepting? How can he be so kind to someone who has left him? He said, "Where is your wife?" And then Prabhupada said, "How is your son?" Prabhupada knew that he had a wife and son. So Madhudvisha Prabhu remembers very fondly that Prabhupada in his kindness was non-judgmental. There was no judgment. You see, we cannot be kind and be judgmental at the same time. Right? So here the important point is to express kindness without any judgment. So support someone in kindness sympathetically, suspending your judgment. These are the 5 important aspects of kindness which we saw through Srila Prabhupada's life. Anyone wants to share anything?
So I have a question.
Any reflections? Yes.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So, very nice, the way you explained the kindness was very, very good. I understand kindness with devotees. I mean, that is, that's easy because devotees are usually very kind. Then with non-devotees as well, it's manageable. But there can be certain individuals, especially at work or maybe neighbors, who are continuously unkind to you, and you feel like you get to that saturation point that I can't be any more kind with them. So, do we still be kind to them, or do we just draw a line and keep a distance?
Very nice question. And it's an appropriate question because the next quality of devotee is akrita droha. To interact with even those who are envious in a way that is non-confrontational, that does not make the situation worse. This is how we have to act. We will see this as the next quality of Srila Prabhupada. And it's exactly what you said. Dealing with someone who is constantly unkind towards us. Yes.
Yeah, I want to share something.
Yes, please.
We were flying on an airplane to another country. And in that, one of my friends, he went to the bathroom, and when he was coming out, this person put his feet up like this. He wouldn't let him cross. So he says, "I paid £300 more than you. I'm allowed to stretch my legs." And he's doing his computer thing. So I was this side, my friend was that side. I said, then I thought, oh, we are 20,000 feet up in the air. We don't want to make any problems, yeah? So 2 words I used, 2 words I used. I said, "Please, can you let my friend through?" He said, "No, I paid here. I will let you through, but not him, So when he put his feet down, we carried on a little bit. My friend went across, then I went across. That was sorted, yeah? Then when I came back, he said, "Oh, I won't let you through, I said, "Please, can you let me through, please?" And then he did. And that was it. Please and thank you. Finished.
Yes.
So it would have been like if I did anything else, or my friend did anything else, it would be like, he'll be fine, there'll be problems, the airplane will have to go and land somewhere else. So, yeah, so it's okay. Please and thank you.
I would never get in trouble on a flight with you.
Why? You have to be quick. You start fighting there and you had it. Yeah.
Very nice, yes.
Yeah.
It's words of kindness. Srila Prabhupada, he wasn't superficial. He actually meant what he said. So exactly like you said, if you can see, like you were genuinely saying, please, can you let us through? Prabhupada was always genuine. He was never superficial. And actually, if you and I said what Prabhupada said to people, they will either beat us up black and blue, or they will just not want to see our face again. We cannot imitate because Prabhupada came from the level of the soul and he spoke so kindly. Even his chastising someone was with so much inner, deep kindness. And so we will see some examples of that here. Before I move on, as we finish every quality, I'm just going to probably take a pause and see if there are any reflections. And also ask Gopaswami Prabhu if he wants to add anything in any of these qualities.
Yep.
Would you like to add something, Gopaswami Prabhu?
Should we share a chair? Yeah, Prabhu?
Yeah.
In the front? Yeah, we can bring a chair.
Yes.
Maybe. Is that?
Yeah. It would be nice. Any reflections from what we heard so far? Vaishnava, any reflections?
Me?
Yes.
I think I have many enemies because sometimes I don't hold enough with calm what I have to say to people, and I think. And I say that, I said, oh, that's not me. Unfortunately.
But we can learn from Srila Prabhupada of how to be kind. Yes, Prabhu. So, quality of kindness of Prabhupada.
I will say a little example of Prabhupada kindness, but it is toward me, so okay, yeah, Prabhupada is very, very kind. And he was also on a mission, huh? He was also on a mission, like you said, not only smiling kindly, but he was on a mission to take us out of illusion and condition, bad things like that. So, like a doctor, he's kind, but he has to, do something practical. Yeah. Anyway, he was very kind, Sri Prabhupada with me. He received me in his room in Vrindavan, but he was a little like not acknowledging me so much. He was dressing himself and no smile, no like that. And he asked me, I was not a devotee yet, so I was traveling. And he asked me, so what you, because he saw me, I was, the devotees they gave me is a plate to clean after he's finished prasad. So he was very nicely, I can carry you in Prabhupada association. It's already, it's not a big thing, but it's always nice. Huh? He was sitting outside of his apartment after prasad, in his little garden outside. Huh? There was no garden, it was all bricks and things. But he was sitting there peacefully, and it was really nice. I was sitting just next to his feet. He was on his string bed. Huh? Yeah. Yes. It's nice to have Prabhupada in Vrindavan, sitting, and he was with his friend, Chandra Babaji, and they were reading together, Bhagavatam. They were laughing together. It was very transcendently blissful. It was cleaning place, and Mother Jamuna, she said, "Oh, Srila Prabhupada is so happy, because it was very nicely clean with little lemon and Vrindavan dust, he make it shiny. Very pleased. So he took me in, but he did not acknowledge me so much, and what are you doing, this and that. He asked me questions, and be practical. Show kindness to everybody, materially and spiritually. Anyway, he told me, because I was a medical student, be very quickly practical, and then you can help the devotees, materially, medically. So he was concerned. And that was it. He said something I could not understand, and Brahmananda Prabhu, he was there, he brought me out. You hear what he said, Prabhupada? He said he accepts you as his disciple. Oh, wow. The next day during the class, Prabhupada was speaking about how Narada Muni, as a young boy, he had the opportunity to do a menial service for the Bhaktivedantas, staying there during the monsoon, and because he had this menial service, taking their remnants of their prasad, that's what I was doing, just now. And he got the mercy from the Bhaktivedantas. That's the system, he said, in India during the Chaturmas. The sages, the sadhus, they stay somewhere and they give blessings. They say just like, so these sages, these Bhaktivedantas, they gave blessings to little Narada. And like that he became devotee. And then he said, just like this young French boy, he also got the mercy like that. I saw that Prabhupada did not, acknowledge me at all. But that was a deep kindness. I accepted my menial service, cleaning, like that. So, yeah. Prabhupada is not always appearing smiling, or personally, but it does it. I read recently the book Bond of Love. It's very interesting. I don't know if you know. It's only Prabhupada lady disciples recording their memories. And there is like, 200 or 300, small ones each. I read all Prabhupada memories, maybe 25 or 30 different male disciples. And it's mainly about, wow, what Prabhupada did, it's fantastic. But this book is very special because when you finish it, you feel, wow, it's all about bond of love, the appreciation of the kindness of Prabhupada. It was different, very different from all of those memories. very striking, how each of these lady devotees, they spoke about Prabhupada kindness. They mainly expressed, well, we were a little aside, we were, the men were in front, the sannyas, everything, and we were aside, we were not doing the big things, doing. But as soon as Prabhupada had any little opportunity to acknowledge us, wow, many said, I just have a look at Prabhupada, for an instant in my life, and that's for my whole life. Or just a word, Hare Krishna, thank you for cleaning my room or whatever. And then these devotees, they felt such a big reciprocation from Prabhupada, from the heart, kindness. A very interesting book. How the men, they respond more to, action, it was fantastic, magic Prabhupada. And the ladies, most of them, they react with his kindness. Yeah. I had a few like that interaction with Sri Prabhupada. And I like everybody, I am very amazed by what he did, of course, and the way he did it, so perfectly, so consciously representing the parampara and trying to really help us like that. But I have, mainly what maintains me and inspires me is a little tip where he showed kindness to me, although apparently I was not like that. It's very, very nice. And he was, as you said, Prabhupada was both tattva, transmitting the absolute truth down to earth. And he was rasa. He was full of Krishna. And therefore, the way he spoke out this tattva of Krishna consciousness, truth, the way it was full of feelings for Krishna and for us, that we could experience, we could feel that. Yeah, I often say, I repeat, but when he was walking here and speaking about Krishna, I still remember very strikingly that Krishna is God, alright. I was, young devotee, but I heard, that we are not this body, like that. And when Prabhupada said we are not this body, in the class we are there. Wow, take your pen and you write down. We are not this body. There was something more than the tattva in it, It was wow. And when he was walking near now is a wooden cottage, he spoke about Krishna. And when he spoke about Krishna, the word Krishna was no more only the word. Like when we chant Hare Krishna, we are chanting a mantra. We try to concentrate on the sound, transcendental sound vibration, which is, very fantastic and it works. But when Prabhupada was saying the word Krishna, it was not a sound, it was not a mantra, he was Krishna himself, manifesting through this sound, because Prabhupada had a full faith, but also full love for Krishna. He was a lover of God. He was a lover, before everything or above everything. Prabhupada was a lover. He was a lover of Krishna. And Bhaktyama Mavijanati, Krishna, he says, you can know me only through love. And when Sadhome, this verse, one who loves me is always in my heart. And he's always, I am always in his heart, but he's always in my heart. Prabhupada was a lover of Krishna, and Krishna was in his heart. And when Prabhupada was speaking about Krishna, the Krishna from his heart was coming out. And the word Krishna was Krishna, and you were a young devotee, and wow, all of a sudden you realize for Krishna exists really, he's there. Prabhupada spoke of him, Prabhupada, Krishna was there. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Very well. Thank you. Thank you. We're very fortunate that we have your association. It's like you were very fortunate to have Prabhupada's association, we're fortunate to have your association.
Please bless me. I need.
You're already blessed. Yes.
I was speaking with Mataji this morning. Yeah, we from Indian or Hindu culture, we believe strongly in blessings. And maybe we have to learn that in our Western devotees. And yeah, we have to. It's very nice interacting with you because you are always into this mind thing, blessings, you know. We do sincerely, genuinely feel that when you are coming to New Mayapur, it's a big blessing for us. Big blessing for New Mayapur, big blessing for us. Sincere, we just so keep coming and give us your blessings. We need that.
Hare Krishna.
Anyway.
We'd like you to stay here. There's more that we'd like you to speak about. This next quality is, maybe we'll do one or two and then hear from Gopaswami Prabhu and break for lunch. So the next quality is, he does not make anyone his enemy. As Mahaprabhu was asking, if we are dealing with people who are really always trying to be enemies with us, akrita droha. In Sanskrit, it is akrita droha. So one very nice pastime from Montreal in Canada. Prabhupada was in Canada, and Prabhupada, Gopal Krishna Maharaj was with him. He was a brahmachari then. They had arranged for Prabhupada to go to a nuns' college or a nuns' school, the Christian nuns, girls. And Prabhupada went there and he was speaking about Krishna consciousness. And all the nuns, they were really tuned in. Although Prabhupada was not speaking about Jesus at all, he was speaking about Krishna. The only thing he mentioned to them was, you all are praying to Jesus. And Jesus is the Son of God. But Krishna is God. Like that Prabhupada was preaching. When he finished the class, one of the person who traveled with the devotees, a Bengali person, his name was Mr. Mukherjee. He raised his hand for questions and answers. You know how Prabhupada would finish the class and he would say, any questions? He would say. So this Mukherjee was the first one to raise his hand. And he questioned Prabhupada, why you come to the West to preach Krishna consciousness? These are Christian countries. Why do you come to a Christian country to preach your own philosophy? You should not have come to the West. So this is a man who has come with the devotees. And he's challenging Prabhupada. And all the devotees were really shocked. What's wrong with this person, Mr. Mukherjee? Anyway, Prabhupada answered, and the program was over, and the nuns were very happy. They were, they almost respected Prabhupada like they would respect the Pope. They were very respectful towards Prabhupada. And they left. And after many, many months, when Prabhupada was about to leave to America from Canada, he wanted to see off all the devotees. This was in the early days, 1968. So not so many devotees were there. So he wanted to see off all the devotees in Canada. So he asked Gopal Krishna, please invite all the devotees. All the devotees came, but Mukherjee wasn't there. And then Prabhupada said, where is Mr. Mukherjee? Why is he not here? Go and call him. And Mukherjee came. And Prabhupada hugged him. And Prabhupada blessed him. And Gopal Krishna Maharaj asked, but Prabhupada, this Mukherjee, he's such an idiot. He is speaking bad about us. By traveling with us, he then speaks bad about us. He speaks against you. And yet, you are so much kind to him. Prabhupada said, I must have done something to him in my past life, which is why he wants to take revenge. Never mind. Never mind. Prabhupada would ignore. If somebody misbehaved with Prabhupada, he would ignore and he would move on. He would not take that against, not hold a grudge against anyone. His mood was to bless, to forgive, and forgo of grudges. I think a lot of us, we have so many grudges in our heart. So many grudges. With so many people. And we, by holding these grudges, we make so many offenses towards devotees. These offenses is what stops us. According to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in Madhurya Kadambini, offenses stops one from developing the love of Godhead. So these offenses are very, very detrimental for all of us. Once, that reminds me, Srila Prabhupada was with, he was in Bengal with the older brother of Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. What was his name? Lalita Prasad. So Lalit Prasad or Lalita Prasad, as he was known, he was a sadhu himself. He had a few disciples and he had one disciple serving him personally. And Lalita Prasad was wanting to give away the birthplace of, so he stayed in Birpur, which is the birthplace of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. That's the birthplace of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So he was staying there and he had about 50 acres of land. So at one point he told Prabhupada that I'm happy to give half of this land to you to develop the birthplace of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And Srila Prabhupada was very, very keen because Prabhupada said, look, if we get this land, we will develop it and we will make a school over there, we will have an ashram, we will have many devotees visiting. So he started planning with his disciples, especially with Jayapataka Maharaj, on what he can build in Birpur. And the next visit, by this time Lalita Prasad's disciples, they conspired and they said, oh, if you give this land to Swamiji, then they will, ISKCON devotees will overtake everything that we have. So please don't give anything to them. So next visit of Prabhupada went there. Lalita Prasad said, I have changed my mind. I don't want to give you anything. And Prabhupada was very respectful because Lalita Prasad is not only a brother, but he's a very senior Vaishnava. So he paid obeisances, except on the way back in the car, Prabhupada was fuming with anger. And he was saying, you cannot do it. You don't have the means to do it. You cannot build a nice temple for Bhaktivinoda Thakur. But why do you stop somebody who can? Is that right? Is that the right thing? You are not able to do anything for him. What is your preaching? You have not managed to do anything. And we are trying to do it. And you are not willing to give us the help. Is that right? Is it the right thing? He was fuming. And all the disciples of Prabhupada were thinking, oh, Prabhupada is having a grudge against Lalita Prasad. He's being offensive against Lalita Prasad. Prabhupada almost as if he read their minds. And Prabhupada was quiet and then Prabhupada said, I'm not being offensive. This is not an offense. I'm simply questioning. Almost trying to teach us that if you disagree with someone, if you question that person, it's not an offense, Vaishnava Aparadha. But if you accuse that person, if you didn't do the cake, I asked you to bake a cake for Krishna, you did not bake the cake well, I can tell you, you are a hopeless cook. Please stay away from the kitchen. This is offense. But if I say, is this how you bake a cake? Could you not have done it better? Is there anything you could have learned from this? Could you do it better next time? Then I'm not being offensive. Because it's almost saying the same message, but in a question tone. Prabhupada taught us such subtleties of Vaishnava behavior. So when we disagree with someone, now some of us are in management in the manner, either in advisory capacity or directly involved like Nishkinchana. We sometimes feel like we disagree with someone. How you express that disagreement, even tough situations, Prabhupada taught us. You can question, but hold no malice in your heart. Bless, forgive, and forgo of all grudges. How do you say it, Mataji?
Bénis, pardonne et oublie les rancunes.
Yeah. This is Prabhupada's rule. We'll do one more and then we will stop for now. Yeah, for Prasadam. Prabhupada was in Mauritius. Prabhu mentioned about airlines. Prabhupada was flying from Mauritius to Durban on October the 5th, 1975. And it was a full flight because there was a rugby game in South Africa. And a lot of, it was I think South Africa versus New Zealand. So a lot of Kiwis from New Zealand had taken a stopover in Mauritius and to go to South Africa to watch the game. And these were all, rugby, football, rowdies. These are rowdy people. So in those days, in aeroplanes you had a smoking section and a non-smoking section. Yes. So of course, Srila Prabhupada and Pushta Krishna, his disciple, this is Prabhupada in Mauritius. He had a royal welcome in Mauritius. And Pushta Krishna and others, yeah. Actually, all the photographs that you see here are appropriate to the pastime. So, Prabhupada, Pushta Krishna and Prabhupada were on the flight together. And at that time, these rowdies, they were smoking, and with their cigarette smoke, they entered the non-smoking section. Even where Prabhupada was sitting, and they were standing on the aisle and they were smoking. And Pushta Krishna told him, one of this rowdy guy, he said, sir, can you please not smoke here? This is the non-smoking section. And this man just ignored what Pushta Krishna said. Another man came and he also started smoking there. So Pushta Krishna was very upset. He was almost going to stand up and ask these guys to go. But he called the stewardess, and the stewardess told them to leave. So they left for some time. They came again in the non-smoking section, started smoking where Prabhupada was sitting. Pushta Krishna stood up again to call the stewardess. Prabhupada told him, sit down. And Prabhupada said, can we not tolerate? Can we not just tolerate? He said, what is the difference between us and them if we cannot tolerate? Don't be an ordinary, common, foolish man. As if an ordinary, common, foolish man is always ready to make enemies. What is this quality of a devotee? He does not make enemies. Prabhupada did not make enemies. Prabhupada said, a foolish, common man is always eager. In UK we find, we are driving, especially in London, if you are in a jam, they will start honking. And the next thing you know, they will start abusing. And then they will do all kinds of gestures. It's very common in cities. Yeah. And I was also in many such situations many times. And I learned over the years, sometimes I even fold my hands and say, Hare Krishna, like this. They don't understand it. But the man becomes one Polish guy, was the truck driver. He was driving on the wrong side. So I said, can I go? He thought I was abusing him. I just said, can I go? So he started screaming and honking towards me. I just paid a visit. I said, Hare Krishna. And then he said, Arr! And he moved his truck immediately. So, you see, we don't have to make unnecessary enemies. Anyways, life is difficult. How many of us think life is difficult? Generally. Let's not make it more difficult. Yeah? It's difficult as it is. We are suffering the threefold miseries as it is. let's not invite more suffering. So Prabhupada expressed tolerance and patience. So, any thoughts on how to deal with those who are this is the first pastime or second one? First one is those who criticize. To not be an enemy of those who criticize. And how do we do that? If somebody is against us, somebody is critical to us, bless them. Very difficult. Very difficult. Prabhupada did that. Somebody would criticize, he would bless. And forgive and forgo. Forgo means move on. What do? We don't bless, we curse them. We don't forgive, we keep the grudge in the heart. And we don't forgo. Every time we hear about that person or see that person, we will think bad about him or her. Yeah. So this is,
Prabhu, no, thank you. Just a question came to my mind. Obviously, Prabhupada was a sadhu. He was a Vaishnava and he was obviously perfectly doing the role of a sannyasi.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, we have, now that as the generations progress, Varnashram is going to become more and more of a thing. And, we know that Shama is a quality of the Brahmanas, especially the Brahmanas, and I would include sannyasis and such like people. When it comes to Vaishnavas who have to be Kshatriyas, in the future there will be Vaishnava Kshatriyas, would this have to be laid for them? Because if they were very forgiving and foregoing, then it's like, there must be some...
Yeah. So very nice question, and Prabhupada has answered that question fortunately. Srila Prabhupada said, in Varnashram system, these 26 qualities have to be appropriately applied to different Varnas and ashrams. Absolutely. You cannot have a soldier trying to kill an enemy. The enemy just says, "Oh, I'm sorry." Okay, go. Next. Oh, I'm also sorry. Okay, you can also. Then there will be no protection, right? Prabhupada says in, I believe it is in Chaitanya Charitamrita or one of his lectures. I can find out in the evening and I'll put the quote here. He says these qualities, 26 qualities, should be adjusted according to the Varnashram system if there is proper Varnashram system that is established. But generally for all devotees, like we read at the beginning, right? It's important, like this is the overarching principle here. What is Prabhupada saying? He's saying, so these qualities, 26 qualities are called qualities of a saintly person. Devotee means to become fully qualified with all the noble qualities. Devotee does not mean a rascal. At the same time a devotee. And then he says, no, that is not a devotee. As soon as you become devotee, the test is that all those 26 qualities that we are discussing will develop. You have to test yourself. Ask yourself, reflect. Machi asked if we should have self-reflection. Prabhupada says, reflect. Out of the 26 qualities, how much I have developed? Ask yourself. If I am lacking, then you must know that you are not developing. This is the test. So these 26 qualities that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu mentioned to Sanatana Goswami. Actually, I know one particular sannyasi. He is a very, very senior sannyasi. Very sweet, and many devotees love him. In his room, I was cleaning his room once. In his room, he has this verse and translation in a, like a little, a big size, not A3, A4 size, bigger, like a portrait size. And he must be reflecting. I never asked him, Maharaj, what do you do with this? But I'm sure he must be reflecting on these, because Prabhupada said This is the test. If we are not developing this, we should. Alright. So, did we put 1 point or 2 points? We put the first point. What was the second point? So, this is forgiveness towards those who criticize, yeah? Dealing with those who criticize, and this is those who cause disturbance. Do not make enmity with those who cause disturbance. So in the first case, Mr. Mukherjee was criticizing. In the second case, this rugby punk, he was simply causing disturbance. Prabhupada still did not make enmity with him. So we have to be careful. I'm going to hand over to Gopaswami Prabhu if you want to add anything. And then we'll break for lunch. Okay?
Since you asked me, you need to say something. Once a devotee was confronted with another who was doing something outrageous, again and again, and he got angry with him, and he reported to Prabhupada, He says, we can't, I can't tolerate this, devotee, it's really too much. And Prabhupada fight back to him, said, I'm tolerating you, so you should tolerate me.
Yes, thank you.
So, tolerance could be seen as the root of all other qualities. First we have to tolerate, and then we can show positive qualities. Like Lord Chaitanya, he said, Na Anuraga, Lord, my Lord, you are so kind, all qualities. You are giving yourself to us in a very simple way through your holy names. Free, very liberal, but still have no taste. And then there is no hope. And after that, after Krishna gives the maximum, if we don't take it, But Lord Chaitanya, he gave gave us the hope and the solution, practical. Trinadapi Sunichana, next verse. After Namraga, no hope, no taste. But if you are humble and tolerant, respectful to others, then, Kirtaniyasa, you will be able to chant my holy name constantly, and by chanting constantly all your life, you will be successful. So tolerance is a very, very important thing. It's a root for me. It's a root of other qualities. It's easy to be tolerant and to be kind, to be this and that when everything is okay. And I said also to one devotee, I was thinking I was a nice, cool guy up to the time I had children. Then I discovered another me. And I was smiling, and then I became too much, Although still having, love for children. So you learn tolerance, and then that all our bad qualities, they have to keep quiet through tolerance. And then when they keep quiet, the magic of Hare Krishna mantra is coming out, purification and developing good qualities. Yes, Prabhupada tolerated us, He went really down to our level. That's why, maybe some of his great God brothers could not do, because maybe there is something, not less, but something more in Srila Prabhupada. He tolerated so many things when he came to the West. And we could appreciate, here is a real sadhu, all qualities. And he's tolerating so much of our, uneducated ways. Don't like that. Like one thing he said nicely, one devotee said, oh, Prabhupada, you said that we all came from, in past life we were already practicing devotional service, so now we are taking it again. And the devotee said, Prabhupada, no, we were born in, Mlacha family, we are eating meat and doing all kinds of nonsense like that. We were not before. And Prabhupada said, this is all details. But when you heard Hare Krishna, you came running.
Hi, Bob.
The Prabhupada was very, anything on the balance of Hare Krishna, and Prabhupada's Krishna consciousness and ISKCON movement, anything on the balance with our defects or shortcomings doesn't weigh much. If we have to tolerate all that and have full faith. We must have full faith. Krishna consciousness is not for the weak-minded. You have to have full faith in Hare Krishna mantra, that Krishna is not different from his name. And Prabhupada came to give us real Krishna, real Vedic wealth, greatness, glory. Full faith in that. And that will help us to tolerate all our shortcomings and those of others. Also tolerance. Of course, tolerance has to be nourished by some positive things. But Krishna consciousness is full of ecstatic positive aspects. From time to time at least you will taste, if you surrender, you will taste an ecstatic kirtan, an ecstatic prasad, an ecstatic devotees, an ecstatic class. And of course not every day and 24 hours, but we tolerate and we keep full faith with the success of Krishna consciousness, and we can all make it. Sure, guarantee, Prabhupada words. Jai.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you, everyone. We will break for lunch now and we'll continue at 4 p.m. this afternoon. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Gopaswami Prabhu ki
Jai. Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki
Jai. Hare Krishna.